Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on DC, and this is very obviously going to be a video on is everyone being too prejudgmental and basically unfair to James Gunn's DCU and by extension Superman. And I'm going to give my thoughts on that and hopefully briefly explain why, because I don't want to spend too much time on this. But my answer to that question is personally I think yes, and if you disagree with me, I pray that you wait till the end and let's have a nice discussion in the comments. Like, you know, nerd discussion is kind of what this channel is for, so it'd be nice to do that as long as we can keep it all calm. That would be nice too. But yeah, I think that we're being a bit overly harsh on James Gunn's DCU because it hasn't even properly got started until Superman releases, and everyone is scrutinising every single clip of James Gunn's DCU with a fine-tooth comb, and it's just a bit too much in my opinion. I also feel like the pinnacle of being unfair to James Gunn and the DCU by association came this morning when a clip surfaced of James Gunn making the joke in an interview of, well, not even really a joke, just a passing comment that's been really, really overly extended. By which I mean, people are getting way over offended by it. In that, in an interview, the interviewer asked him how he manages with social media, because that's obviously something Superman faces in the film. He then replied, "It's obviously something I've had personal experience with, given everything that's happened with my career, and thankfully I'm hoping to recover from that." And I do spend a lot of time on Twitter, and then I reply, and sometimes I reply to angry tweets, but I try and stop myself from getting over obsessed and remind myself I could very well be replying to an Indian 12-year-old or something, um, who actually isn't, very bothered and just wants to get a rise out of me. So the overall point was essentially just we should not let social media get to us, and we need to let social media go a bit. And he was basically saying, I'm definitely guilty of that, and I have personal experience with a lot of stuff with social media. If you remember the jokes, former tweets that somebody shifted through the Twitter archive to find, even though James Gunn had deleted them, which caused a stir. And so that's why he's basically saying, I'm still guilty of it. We need to let things go. And the internet did the internet and decided he was intentionally being incredibly racist because he made a passing comment and the word Indian was in it. And I'm just like, he's saying that it's probably a kid from an international nation that has nothing to do. Um, that he doesn't need to let this kid's view affect his view of the world, or whoever it is from international waters. He doesn't need this to affect him quite so strongly. He doesn't need to get angry. That's all he was saying. It was a very small comment. If you think just because he randomly, at the top of his head, thought of a random example and used the word Indian in the example, he's a massive racist, then I think you're really overreaching and really overreading there. I don't know, I'm not Indian, so perhaps I don't have a dog in this fight, and people are going to call me a bigot for even commenting on it. But comment below on what do you think? I think it's way out of proportion, and people should just leave James Gunn alone. The man can't breathe in peace at the moment. It's just like, at least let him get a film out, guys. Come on. But I'm not gonna overly defend him, but I do think that this is getting to the point of ridiculousness. Everyone is so sensitive; it's getting ridiculous. If there was intentional racist connotations behind that, I can't see it. I don't see it, and if you see it, I think you're overly reaching. It's like you're really doing mental gymnastics to just throw shit at James Gunn at this point, aren't you? I mean, I don't know. Do you guys see that? Am I prejudiced for not seeing that? I don't know. Where does everyone land on that one? I find that ridiculous, but you know, people can think what they like, and they very much will. But this is where I realised, wow, we're really being overly harsh to James Gunn's Superman and everything he's doing with the DCU at the moment, because people just aren't giving the poor guy a break. He hasn't even managed to make a film. Now, don't get me wrong, there is speculation and concerns and things, and everyone's going to speculate on stuff because it's on the internet, it's publicly available. But to the point of saying, oh, he was intentionally being racist and he's always been problematic because of his past tweets, which he's apologised for, and said, he fully understood the business decision when Disney decided to temporarily let him go and then very cleverly hired him back when everyone calmed down because the internet moves on within about 3 weeks. But anyway, doesn't matter. What I'm trying to say is, like, he's openly admitted that he made stupid mistakes with dark humor in the past, but this isn't a dark humor thing. It was a random example thought of at the spur of the moment, and to say someone is indefinitely a condemnable, evil racist, which is what a lot of people are saying, and he's saying he's problematic, for that comment, I think is just over the line. But hell, maybe I'm a bigot. I don't know. What do you think? Oh god, this video could be a mistake, couldn't it? Anyway, let's carry on to discussing, are we scrutinising James Gunn's Superman too much? Well, from that point, from one point in the yes column, what I've just previously talked about, another point in the yes column, I think, is people are saying that seeing David Cornsweet's Superman be emotional over a dog, for example, when he's trashing Lex Luthor's office, and is trying to be threatening, but it's not working for Lex Luthor at all. It's like, well, he's showing you up, and Superman isn't over emotional, shouldn't be like this. And then you're seeing him get slightly over emotional at Lois during the small clip of the interview scene we've seen. I think it's because James Gunn is trying to show Superman's humanity, because Superman was shown as a god when it was Henry Cavill's Superman. And whatever you think of Henry Cavill's Superman, I personally think Man of Steel is a great film, and I would love to see him back in the role, but we're just not going to see it, so we need to move on. But I do think he was essentially made as a Jesus implant into the DCU, and yes, there are meanings within his character that are related to, translated to like godlike or like Jesus. It's something like that. I can't remember the exact thing, but there's something about religion and Christ comparisons and Jesus and all that kind of thing in his Kryptonian language and backstory that has been done before, but he's not meant to be a god. He's meant to be a human with god-level powers that adopted the humanity of the planet that was his adoptive home. He's the ultimate immigrant trying to make the world better for everyone. That is basically what his story is, a story of immigration, found family, found home, and trying to make the world better and live in hope, because he was raised in Kansas with very hopeful traditional parents that were very kind, caring, loving, and protected him no matter what came for him, so to the time when he was able to reveal his secret and become who he was meant to be, and save the world, that kind of thing. I'm not explaining this well, because frankly I'm just flabbergasted by the previous thing I explained. But yeah, I feel like I do agree that at the moment the clips we're seeing in isolation do make it look like David Cornsweet is just an overly emotional Superman, and it's being done for the sake of going against the darker version of Zack Snyder's Superman that was too basically like a god. The humanity wasn't there, the god traits were all he had, and the humanity was barely there except for when he was temporarily shagging Lois in a bathtub. I exaggerate for effect, but you get what I mean. I do love Henry Cavill's Superman. It's a very accurate New 52 broody version, so I'm not throwing shade. I just think that the god level comparisons were a bit much in Zack Snyder's universe, and so James Gunn is trying to compensate for that in the clips we're seeing. Does that mean that he's over emotional? Does that mean that these clips are even being used in the film? There could be promotional things to get people talking, in which case they're working well. And I do think we have a risk of them going too far the other way, but what I'm hearing from people I trust is that it's essentially slightly, a slightly softened view of masculinity, if you're talking about toxic masculinity, whatever that even means, but those kind of terms doesn't mean anything, but you know what I'm saying. And so if you're talking about that, it's a softened version of Superman, and he's more emotional. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's all he is. It's him trying to show his humanity, because his humanity wasn't shown in the most recent iteration. And I do think it's going over the top, but from what I've heard from people I trust, that is being done from a marketing point of view. It isn't necessarily all we're going to see from Superman, and it's being overblown from a marketing point of view to get people talking, so we won't see everything we've seen in the marketing, in the film, and we won't see all the emotional stuff we've seen in the film. We will see some of it because we want to show the humanity, similar to the humanity shown in the DCAU, Justice League, Superman the Animated Series, with one reviewer, I can't remember who it was, actually saying that they saw the full pre-screening of the film and it felt like episodic an episodic story that linked together, similar to Batman the Animated Series, and they were giving it quite high praise. And that was somebody I was like, well, that's interesting to see, and that gives me hope. Yes, the over emotional thing could be too far the other way swing, and I am slightly concerned about it. But from what I'm hearing, we don't need to be concerned. This is all rumor, by the way, and sources from behind the scenes that I can't reveal, or they may lose their jobs. But you know, so it's all rumour, take it with a pinch of salt. I'm not claiming otherwise. But I trust James Gunn to write an emotional character that has depth, that has heart, that has the kind of Superman-esque thing without making it over-emotional, because I've seen the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise. I've seen what he can do with those kind of characters, and it makes me excited. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect, but I think the emotional throughline, the emotional beats can be balanced out by the traditional Superman we all know and love, and that I think James Gunn does too. He needed to find an era, a thing to identify with, and it's very, I think, I would argue it's very Silver Age. The bowl cut with Guy Gardner, the universe sort of coming together in one film and trying to set up that Superman's been active for like 3 years. He's not the only superhero, and trying to give us basically Justice League pre-Justice League vibes, and I enjoy that. I think people are scrutinizing the emotional clips too much, but I think that was a clever marketing strategy, and if my sources are correct, I am correct in that. I could be wrong, but I'm not too worried. I trust James Gunn until proven otherwise, which will be obviously shown by my opinions on the film. But pretty much people I've trusted and people I've seen reviews of online, so it could be America, could be any other place where it was shown off. The full film premiere, sorry, I think I said 1 hour premiere. I misspoke there. Full film premiere. And they said it was good. As I say, one review even said it was like Batman the Animated Series episodes continually stretched together, and that seems like very high praise to me. It depends on the type of version of Superman that you like, but I'm excited. I think we should all stop scrutinizing the marketing and just give them credit for getting us talking as much as we have, because it shows we're passionate about it, it shows we do care, and it shows that the marketing is, in a sense, working. Projections aren't great, but that's because everyone's kind of... There seems to be a war between certain sections of fans, Zack Snyder fans, and people that are defending James Gunn. I think people are putting me in the defending James Gunn camp. I never personally put myself into that. I'm defending him now because I think the accusations that I spoke about earlier in the video are ludicrous, but I personally think that I'm willing to give it a chance, and I trust James Gunn. I'm not defending him to the hilt. I will watch the film and be very, very honest about my take on the film. I think that the over-emotional Superman is a concern of mine, but it's not so much of a concern from what I'm hearing from behind the scenes, and I trust James Gunn to make that balance. Do you? Comment below and let me know. Anyway, I think I've gone almost over the top with this video, so I should probably stop talking now. But I do want to just say really briefly, thank you to the 3 subscribers I currently have now. I honestly thought that I wouldn't get anyone willing to listen to my takes on things, so I hope you watch this video and enjoy it. If you enjoy this video, consider subscribing, share, like, do whatever you will, I very much appreciate it, but I'm very thankful to the subscribers I have now, giving me much motivation to carry on and continue, and there will be many videos to come as soon as physically possible. Life's just gotten the better of me at the moment, so that's why I'm not uploading as regularly, but I do intend to. Anyway, thank you, that's the end of the video, guys. Comment below with your thoughts on everything. Cheers!